And we have a saying like the market will tell you what they want. The market will tell you what they need. So I go to find where the market is. And there's he who's closest to the market wins in terms of who has the better advertising. So getting there and trying to understand them, speaking with them, and stalking their Facebook pages.
Welcome to the Author Like a Boss podcast, the podcast for indie authors who want to improve their writing, up-level their marketing, make money with their books, and have fun doing it. Now, onto the show with your host, Ella Barnard.
Hey bosses, real quick, if you're interested in getting live coaching from me, joining a community of amazing writers, and participating in monthly Q&As with guest authors from this podcast, then you'll want to come check out the Author Boss Academy. You can find out more about the Academy at authorlikeaboss.com/academy. Hello, everybody. Hello, bosses. We are here today at Author Like a Boss with the amazing J.R. Castle. I can tell you, I have been really, really looking forward to this interview for a while. Okay, so a little about her. She is a daughter of the king, a marketer, an advertiser, and an author's wife. She's a writer, a thinker, a mama, and a lover of life. And she rhymes. Aside from creating worlds worth escaping to, crafting stories to enchant, and sculpting characters to love, she puts her 10 plus years of advertising experience to work machinating ad copy to entice readers to buy. Equipped with a venti butterbeer latte, fuzzy socks, and the perfect playlist, she hasn't met an AMS or Facebook ad, web layout, book blurb, or alien horde she couldn't best. Oh my gosh.
Ooh,
oh my gosh. She's basically, you guys, she is totally badass. And that's, and look at how good her bio is. You know that her writing is going to be amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I too have been looking forward to this, and yes.
Awesome. I'm like, did I say Benti right? Benti? I don't know.
Benti, it all goes down the same. All that caffeine goodness.
Okay. So let's just jump into it. And can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your author journey?
Absolutely. So, as a lot of people have said, they had a love for the written word from a very young age. I used to read all the time since I learned how to read. And my whole favorite thing growing up has been books. I remember when I was very young, like fourth grade or so, probably rather, that sounds young, but I spent a part of my summer volunteering at our city library, restocking all the books in certain sections. And it's just a couple blocks from where my dad worked in the downtown area. So, even so much so that when I was in fourth grade, I had been procrastinating on too many projects because I would spend too much time reading. And after bed, I would sneak my flashlight and read. So the next best thing is writing your own stories. So I did. And I wrote my first chapter book in third grade. I wrote in second grade a sort of a play about a PI named Frankie Danger. I don't know what, maybe approximately that age, but I just remember being like, looking back, I'm like, that's really young for someone to be into PR and noir and femme fatales. Like, how did I even get exposed to that? But as we'll kind of get into later on, I recently finished a short story, just submitted it last night, actually, kind of reusing some of that inspiration from that character and that story. I've just always been in the back of my mind. So, and I've done play theater work, written articles for some of the local publications. In high school, I did all of the, I have a lot of fillers going on here. I have a lot of newspaper articles and did that too. So when a few years ago, my husband started writing, kind of got re-exposed to this world. And then when we found the whole indie community, it really just lit a fire in me. So I began working with him, proofing, not that great at it. And those readers' reviews are like, get a real editor. I'm like, yeah, for sure. Do not use me. Okay, yes, pay them the big bucks. They are so much better at it, and I hate it. um, and then about last November, I went from just only doing marketing support and project management to writing, and it has been so much fun. I love it. Really got 4 books out and 1 series. Got a short story and about to start another one. So it's really good stuff.
Oh my gosh. How is it? This is just me wanting to know, how is it being able to do that kind of creativity with your husband?
You know, so we're very intentional about our marriage and knowing that the years can easily coast by and just be lukewarm. So keeping it interesting and pursuing each other's passions and coming alongside each other has been, something that's important to us, right? Because that builds more of a connection than just we're doing day-to-day life together. This took it up a whole nother level. Being able to see those parts of your spouse's mind and creativity. It's scary because you read what they wrote and you think, oh my gosh, that's dark. But at the same time, you're also just impressed by the way he comes up with stories and the way we feed off of each other and our energies. Like, we're best friends, we're partners in crime, and now we get to collaborate in this and spur each other on for our separate projects as well. And we can understand what that's like. And I think some people can attest in the author community, it can be very all-consuming because you have to put so much into it, and finding that balance with your spouse maybe who isn't in the weeds with you, and so they don't know, and they may say like, you're spending too much time writing. Trust me, we still have some of those conversations, but it helps me to understand him more and support him better. So yeah.
I remember when I interviewed your husband, he called you the Chip and Joanna of indie authors. And I was like, oh my gosh, so adorable. And in fact, I think I said, you guys are like Chip and Joanna. And he's like, we say that.
Yeah. I don't know if he says that just to get me to comply, but in the same way, like, he thinks that everything is a possibly great idea. There's a chance. There's no, like, okay, yeah, this is great. And he doesn't ever struggle with the notion that maybe somebody won't like his work. He always says like, man, this is gold. If you don't like it, there's something wrong with you. And I understand that to be very much so like Chip Gaines' attitude, whereas Joanna's a little more cautious and she's methodical and planful. And that's kind of just how I am as well. So it works out, and it's good, because if we were both thinking everything was great, or we both had second, doubts or questions, I think it wouldn't work. But it allows us to be, balanced.
Oh my gosh, I think that is so wonderful. I have like a thing. It's one of my obsessions. I'll say it. I'll own it. Of cute couples who start a business together. I'm like, oh my gosh. And they're so clearly happy and doing what is their true love. And, they're like doing it with a person that they love. It's just this beautiful, beautiful thing that I'm like, oh,
you gave me chills.
Yeah. Yeah. I just love that so much. Another one, you guys, just a side note, if you go to the site fitnessblender.com, it's another beautiful couple who's doing what they love, are adorable. Okay. Side note over. Okay. Okay. So can you tell us, JR, a little bit about your writing routine and how do you make time to write?
I think you nailed it on the head right there. It's making the time as opposed to finding the time. There will be tons of things to fill up our time. And I think, I have a day job still. We have a toddler. We have a house to run. I am an extrovert, so I need that social life. I have a big family, so I do make time for them as well. So making the time to be dedicated. So going back to the whole concept of being planful and methodical, I know what needs to be done, and I know the time when I will be able to have that. And that's typically on my lunch break and in the evenings after my family has gone to bed. So knowing what amount of work needs to go into it and starting ahead of time. So we have basically the rest of 2018 planned out, all of our release dates backing up. This is my project management background. So when do we need to upload? When do we need to have beta readers done? When do we need to have the edits done? When do we need to have our first draft, his draft, my draft, all of that done? So we back up into it. And then when it's time for me to write, this is the area I'm still working on. I have to get my head in the game. I have like a spaghetti brain. I've got all of the things going on. Everything's overlapping. All the tabs are open constantly. So when I have to sit down and write, I have to be able to figure out how to shut all that off and just go with the story. And what's wonderful is that we have a loose plot of a few points that are going to happen, but we're really honed in who our characters are. They drive the story. What are they actually going to end up doing? How are they going to react to a situation? How are they going to react to each other? What do those intrapersonal relationships look like? How is that going to play out based on the MO of each character? And from there, everything tends to roll. And again, a lot of caffeine and a really good playlist. I actually just got a subscription to the Brain FM. Scott Moon, another sci-fi author and wonderful, wonderful, kind man. He recommended and asked him, like, they charge for that. Is it worth it? He said, absolutely. So I'll take it. That and I create a billion playlists on Spotify.
What is the Brain FM?
It's downtones, non-verbal music, and they go into spurts and sort of tones, and it's supposed to stimulate your brain. So they have some science to back it up. They even say it could help folks with certain levels of ADHD be able to concentrate. So it's brain waves stuff.
Okay.
That's a really technical explanation of it.
I think you're the second person to mention, if not that exact thing, something very similar. So, So make a note, people. This is coming up multiple times with successful writers. So, something to try out if it's working for them. The other thing that I really wanted to emphasize is that you are, a lot of people are like waiting for like the perfect time. They're like the perfect time, the perfect setting, everything needs to be right in place before I can write. And that's clearly like you're just writing in the time that you can find in between everything else in your life.
Yes.
Yeah. And then making it work.
Right. I mean, there's always something that's going to be distracting. A day at work, a new thing that needs to come up in the house, a toddler a kid or a husband or whatever it is, something in the house that's demanding attention. Of course, then they give my family what they need. But at the end of the day, like, you control how you react to things. And within that, refocus, know what you have to get done. So get it done. No one else is going to do it for you. No one's going to write that book. No one's going to create those ads unless you pay them to. No one's going to do any of that. It's going to run your business. So either you run it or you let it run into the ground. So that's not an option. So you just make it so.
I really, really love about this is you have this like kind of soft and like very friendly little voice, and you're like, you guys, I'm telling you. This is what you gotta do. I love that so much. One of my favorite things is people who you don't suspect of being badasses, and yet then when you talk with them a little bit, you're like, oh yeah. You might, and your initial impression might be one thing, but actually she's got a spine of steel.
Yeah, if you've met my husband or encountered him, you would understand that we have to be equally yoked or else I'm screwed.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I feel like with women like you. You're like secret badasses until people then people get to know you and they're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were saying something about marketing. So you have a background in marketing and you started, before you started writing with your husband, you've been doing the kind of the marketing on the back end with him. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I've been in advertising. I've been at the same agency for going on 11 years. And my role there has been project management and evolved into a client team leader that includes managing budgets and helping with concept and strategy copywriting. So while I'll come up with some stuff, I also directly work with the team that develops all of it. So it's all a little symbiotic there. So it's key to understand how it all works. Even if you're not the one executing and you're not the one in Photoshop or InDesign, you need to know the audience. Why are we doing what we're doing? How is like an impact? Where are we driving them? What are our results? And being able to have that mindset, that ability for your brain to work in such a way. So when we learned like, hey, you can't just put books out there, people are going to buy them. There's hundreds, thousands of books going up every day. How do you make yours work? So we began doing some advertising. And so Jonathan got connected to the 20 books to 50K group and invited me in, and I began to poke around and do some learning. So I did some testing, did some trial and error on Facebook ads last May, and then in the beginning of May, and then by the end of May, because he had a new book one launch then, we had we had made in 1 month all of the income that we made the entire year previous. And we thought, holy moly, we're onto something here.
Wow.
So that was a good motivation. I remember at the end of June, beginning of July, we had the opportunity to go to Hawaii with some friends. And so there we were, beautiful beach, just a beautiful view. And I was on my computer creating Facebook ads. And it was okay. I wasn't even mad because I understood what the benefit was. If I can invest this couple of hours right here, I can go on and enjoy the next couple of days knowing that the algorithms are learning, that it's being tested. And then I got the app on my phone so I could just check on all my numbers. And we also did Amazon ads. We've dabbled in BookBub ads for launches, and then learning the importance of book blurbs as well. So all of those things working together, that's kind of how we got started. So that's what I do still for all of our books. And I actually have had the opportunity to do them for some other authors. So that has been fun to see them and hear, learn their voice, see how I could help them, and seeing the range of where people are in their business side of their journey. Now, I don't mean business like set up an S corp and copyright this and do this for your bookkeeping and do this for your payroll. There are people who know that. There's experts. I know what, for the most part, what we need to do, but not an expert enough to lateral that over for other people. It's the marketing part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a few things you said. You gave us a lot in there, and there's a few that I want to deep dive into. You said something about the mindset around marketing, and I've talked about that in a different way, but you're talking about knowing the people. Can you talk a little bit more about knowing the people who you're selling to and what's the value of that?
Absolutely. We need to know who is buying our books, who should want to buy our books. Not everybody is going to buy your book, and nor should they, for two reasons. One, there's an Amazon algorithm that takes like and shares like with people who seem to be buying your book and may also want to buy a book similar to yours in genre and style, category, and all of that. So if you advertise to everybody, you're going to diminish the algorithm. It's like little minions all working together. You need to tell them exactly what to do. Don't give them confusing directions. On the other side of that, there's efficiencies in marketing. So if you know your audience, who are they in terms of male, female, age range, what's important to them, what are their triggers, what are their interests. Knowing those things between the Amazon and Facebook ads will help you to better target your audience. So if I'm taking, the 17 million people, 18 million people on Facebook who might have Kindle, and instead of all of those people, I'm going to narrow it down to just the people, males, and then I'm going to narrow it down for them who are of a certain age range, because I think they're going to like my military sci-fi better. People under 24, they don't have a whole bunch of discretionary income. They're just getting out of school. Under 23, they're not reading this stuff. They're reading textbooks, so they're not reading on a Kindle. They're probably not even paying for a Kindle Unlimited subscription. So I'm going to go 25 and older. What kind of book is it? Is it more like a lit RPG? Is it more gritty? Is it more fantastical? That'll tell you more about your age range. And then let's look at interests. Just because it's something that people might quote unquote like official capital L like, doesn't mean that that's going to be a category you can choose from in terms of interests. You have to poke around and see what Facebook has as an interest and find those things for your audience. So now I've cast, instead of a huge net, I've really narrowed it down to the people who are most likely to buy my book. So that way, every time I get an impression, I have a likelier chance of being relevant to them and getting a click. And every time someone clicks, I have a likelier chance of them actually wanting to buy, because I did a good job of saying, I know you, and I think you might be interested in this, instead of shouting it out from the top of a rooftop. And so the same goes on Amazon, because when you're doing either keywords on your Amazon ads, you want to know those specific triggers for them. And the other one would be for the sponsored the product display, what like products. So you got to see who is this urban fantasy reader? What is she buying? What are the other books that are out there that she, or authors or book types that she would be interested in, and use that to drive your ads.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find that out?
Which part?
Yeah. How do you find out what your audience? So there's some things that are obvious that made sense. Okay. You're like, oh, okay. If you're writing military sci-fi, chances are it's going to be male, certain age. But some of the other things are a little bit more not as intuitive. So how do you find out like what other things, like, okay, you said something about more fantastical, you're going to get a certain age range versus more space opera, let's say. So how do you find that
testing
out? Testing
and looking at patterns. So most authors have a page that people can come like. You can look at your page to see who those people are. People who like my ads or click on them or comment like, oh, I can't wait to buy this, or this looks really cool, I'm going to check it out, or hey, is this an audiobook? So they're interested. I will click on their profile and stalk them a little bit. Who is this guy? What is he interested in? Am I noticing any patterns? You can also look at your ad, do an ad, post it up there, have it for 2 to 3 days. Michael Cooper has this saying, fail fast. So you would know within 1 to 3 days whether the ad is successful or not, performing optimally. So within that time, or even after that, actually, if it's a good ad, you can look at it and say, great, this ad is performing well, hitting all of the key metrics that are important to me. So I am going to click, and you can see your audience. You can see where is the most penetration in terms of impressions, where is the most penetration in terms of clicks. So I can see age range. You can see, just basic male, female, and then different age buckets. And then it even shows you how much the average cost per click is for that age range. So I would say, okay, this ad is more efficient for me to target a male over 45 in the United States, Kindle, who's reading Heinlein, Scalzi, Melville, Asimov, all those guys. Okay, great. This ad is not doing well there, but this other one, which I use an excerpt in a more fantastical image, and this is actually really going well with the young guys, because the book, it's hard to explain in this little tiny chunk of text and image exactly the whole range of our book. It has serious moments and has really ridiculous things. So just finding what appeals most to the audience.
Okay.
Did I answer that?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. It's for a lot of people, it's like, how do we find that out? And you have this background in it. So thank you for, thank you for explaining it a little bit. You guys, you actually go and stalk the people. You're like, hey, what do you like? You just
look if they have a private profile. There was a guy this morning, he had a less than positive comment on an ad. And I respect that. There's a part of me that's like, well, you just don't understand. But I clicked on his photos and it just showed some photos. I'm like, this is a military man. It's a young man living in a rural area. He's got him and his dog. He's tattooed with the eagle and chain. I hope I got that right. Sorry for anyone if I did mess that up. And I think, okay, he knows what he's talking about. And so I want to honor that. I want to respect that. And so perhaps on the next iteration of the book, I may make sure I do a little more digging on my research, because if we're saying that it's a Space Marine, I mean, Marines it's a pretty definitive thing, and for those who it means a lot to, it's not like, I kind of like Marines. It's like I am a Marine. This is important to me. This is my identity. So I don't want to wash that down in an ad to not convey authenticity, nor do I want that to happen in the book. And why I'm specifically saying those two is in our ads, I tend to use an excerpt from our book.
Okay. And we're going to get to that because I remember you said something about book blurbs and I want to know how that works. But let's just do that right now and then I'll get to the next one.
Okay.
I take notes. And so like that's one down, but that's okay. Because we're talking about it now. So how do you use the book blurbs with your ads and then this little tiny bit of text that you're allowed to have on the ads? Like, how does that all work together?
Okay. So book blurbs are just for the Amazon page. I only use them there. I will write a new blurb if saying we're doing newsletter swaps with other people if they need a little bit of copy, or we're doing Facebook stuff. I'll do a condensed 50-word version of that. So that sounds really long. Whatever the 150 characters is from Amazon. So it's short and sweet. The book blurbs are only for the Amazon page. So for the ads, they allow you to have a text, a headline, and a link description. The link description doesn't come up on mobile. So I do something short and sweet and actionable, a call to action there. On the headline, it's a trigger, and then a trigger saying something catching, a hook with a call to action. But I keep it rather short as well. And then the text, I used to do just straight ad copy, but I found the best results were using a blurb, and I've tested different lengths of blurbs. And this was another tip, again, I got from Michael Cooper in his book, Help My Facebook Ads Suck. Plus, I had the opportunity to be in his Facebook class at $20, $50K Vegas last year. And also he was really helpful in answering a couple direct questions for me via Messenger, but to give him the credit for that. So, how I find the excerpt for the book is, one, something that really, as we're going through writing it, I will pull some out and save them on the side for future reference. I have a whole bunch of Google Docs. And so for each book or each series, I have a ad copy document, and I separate that into Facebook copy, Amazon copy, blurb copy, notes, things of that nature. So I'll pull out those excerpts as we're going through writing. Also, if the book's been out, because to make sure everyone knows, all ads die. You might have some unicorns in there that have a longer life. All ads die. People, you're targeting the same general group. They're going to see it. It's going to wear. So I have to re-up my Facebook ads for most of them, not all of them, every couple of weeks, few weeks. I do have some that have been rocking it since December, and I'm happy with that. So that's nice to not have to go back and do those guys. But in Kindle, people can highlight text, make little notes on them. So when you look at the Kindle reader, the app, it shows like popular highlights. I go to that. What are people interested in? What is a trigger to them? So I look at those and just make sure none of it is people highlighting typos or errors. But for the most part, it's like, this was a cool part. So I'll use that or something like that for my excerpts, for my ads.
Oh my gosh. That's so smart. I love everything you're saying is like, that makes so much sense. But people don't always think of that.
Well, you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
being an author, you have a different mindset on story and character and theme and just getting the words right and getting the words on the page. My brain's already been trained to look for these types of things. So, and we have a saying like the market will tell you what they want. The market will tell you what they need. So I go to find where the market is. And there's he who's closest to the market wins in terms of who has the better advertising. So getting there and trying to understand them, speaking with them, and stalking their Facebook pages.
Yeah, I think that's really, really key for people to know, though, because I think a lot of people have this impression that they have to figure, in the way that you create a book, you have to then go into your mind and create a market. You know what I mean? Oh, how do I find out what my market wants? Let me think about it. Instead of,
yeah,
how do I find out what my market wants? Let me go ask them. Let me go Facebook stalk them. Let me go see what they're highlighting in the Kindle version. Let me go see,
Yes. And they're interacting. The key thing, I think Lindsay Baroker said it at a recent conference, get your strong 1,000 advocates that are your real true fans. And Shane Silvers does a great job he responds to every or just about every comment on his Facebook. He's very much so accessible and connected to his fans, his readers, right? His friends who read his books. So I think that's key because you can't know if you're just sitting above separate from your readers, your audience. So you know who they are when you think of your top fans who interact and who review every book, the ARC readers. There's a certain persona that comes up. Put a little board together. Just pull a page up on Word or Scrivener pin board thing or whatever it is. What do they generically look like? What age range is he or she? Is it a he or a she? Or is it 50-50? What do they like to do? Do they have kids? Do they have a family? What are the memes that most identify to that person and those kind of trigger things? What are they interested in? What are they doing on a Friday night? So you kind of start putting these little images, mood board together, if you would, for this person or a mind map. And you're thinking, okay, that's who I'm targeting when I'm creating my ads.
Yeah. And then they're a real person.
Yeah.
And usually after a little while, you you'll know some of the people and you'll be like, basically, I'm going to write this ad to Michael.
Yes. Yeah. This is for Lisa. This is for Mike. This is for, yes, exactly.
Yeah. I know this person, they're in my group and they are the epitome of my ideal reader. So I'm just going to be like, okay, what would Michael like? And then make it. But initially you have to then you have to Facebook stock. And then I guess per the different ads. So I'm just confirming per different kinds of ads. So certain audiences will respond better to different kinds of ads. So test them out. You might have actually 3 or 4. Is this correct? You might have 3 or 4 different ideal readers in quotes for a certain book based on the type of ads that they most respond to, or maybe what they're looking for in a type of books.
Yes.
Because not every book is just one thing.
No. And it's hard to convey what the totality of the book is in, one little ad. So there's another book that just came out. It's sort of a YA sci-fi first contact superhero.
Right. So some people are going to respond to the sci-fi. Some people will respond to the YA. Some people will respond to the, if you're writing urban fantasy, or some people will respond better to the little bit of romance that you have in there. Some people will respond to the action, leather covered chick.
Yes. I didn't know if that's where you were going, but yes. Absolutely.
So you test those things out and maybe have a person in mind for each of them, and then be able to set your ads to that person. You're like, I know who that person is. This is what they're going to respond to.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And then keep track of the testing and don't lose faith if you have a few ads that just aren't performing well, because and you don't want people who aren't interested in your story, in your book or your series. You don't want to target them anyway. So maybe that's something to learn. For that same YA book where I was trying to target men, and I tried a few different things and it just wasn't sticking. And what that told us for that particular spinoff series is that's not appealing. You've got a teenage girl and you're trying to sell her physical prowess and like battle worn self to a bunch of former military guys who've been in the real battlefield, and they're the Heinlein Scalzi, they're the OG sci-fi fans. It's going to be a hard sell. So that tells me don't waste my time or money on those ads, but also decide who do I want to be going after in my space, like my writing. So if it's kind of basically two different audiences, it becomes two different genres. Am I going to mess up my Amazon algorithm? Is one going to produce better sales than the other? And I'm going to pursue the one that is most logical based on your business decision making.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, you guys, I hope this is not above anybody's head, but this is like really gold information though. So, but we're talking to somebody who's done this for 10 years. And so my job in this is to be like, this is what she's saying. Let me translate it for. So this is a couple times you've mentioned this, and I want to dig into it a little bit because, you mentioned the algorithm and the messing it up and the algorithm's learning. Can you, I think that's something that people don't know. Like we know there's algorithms, but don't know how they're working, and you do. So can you tell us about that?
I know a little bit. Chris Fox is the man. So, okay. So think of your Echo, who is an AI. You tell her what to do and she does it. It's an if-then command. If you say this, then I'm going to do this.
She's talking in Amazon Echo, you guys.
Yeah, I didn't say her name in case.
Just
that
clarifying.
one I learned from Brian Cohen. Man, that's a lot of name dropping.
Mm-hmm.
See, the other point is, we'll get to it later. No man is an island.
Yes.
So, anyway, it's an if-then command. If anyone remembers math or problems or anything like that. So imagine if there was many of those Echo AI working together in a system to create the sales pages and the recommendations. You'll notice that if you bought something and you go back to your Amazon page and you scroll down and it'll say customers who bought this also considered this. Customers who bought this are sponsored items related to this. Jonathan and I share a Prime account, so he'll be like, "Hey, were you looking at XYZ because it's showing up on my Facebook, Amazon ads from on Facebook? Like, Amazon will advertise to you on there, and it's those AIs picking up your buying behaviors and trying to get you to buy more. If you like this, you will like this. So, okay, is that
yes?
Okay. Then next is if my mom, who reads cozies, she's a Hallmark movie fan, all her books are like that in the, how to improve your life stuff. She likes that stuff. So if she goes on Amazon and buys my military sci-fi, the little minion AIs are going to be very confused. They're like, wait, are you telling me people who like to read cozy romance around Christmas time also like Space Marines shooting up alien bugs? Okay, seems legit. And then the next time, somebody else goes in to go buy that stuff, and then they go to buy my cozies, and now Amazon's saying, here, buy this military sci-fi guy. Look at him. He's got fan braces that glow. They're going to be like, I don't want this. So it's going to be a wasted opportunity. Or if somebody buys it, then it's all going to be mixed up. Where I want my book to show up is I want my book to show up alongside Scott Bartlett, Nick Cole, and Jason Onspach stuff. I'm missing some. Brandon Ellis, Richard Fox, Chris Fox, all of those guys, even Andrew crowd, Justin Sloan, MD Cooper, Jill Cooper, I guess Brian Pike, all of those, like that's where I want my book showing up. I don't want it showing up at Hallmark movie, cozy romance, Halloween spectacular, how I met the prince on Christmas Eve and married him by New Year's Eve. Like, so does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So what you're saying is, you guys, when you want to buy your mom a copy of your book, buy it yourself and gift it to her.
Right. Well, I mean, if you're buying it from your own CreateSpace, buy it from CreateSpace so you can get it at a discount.
Yeah.
Is that against
don't let
stuff?
your mom screw up your algorithm.
Yeah. Like everyone in the family is, send us the Amazon link. I'm like, nope. Tell me who needs the book. I'll buy it for
you. Nuh-uh.
Sorry. No can do, muchacho.
Yeah, because a lot of people who are new to it are like, why is it so bad when friends and family leave reviews? And that's why, because it's messing up the algorithm. So when Amazon is being like, your friends and family can't leave reviews, they're actually doing you a favor.
Yeah.
Like they're actually, the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize about Amazon is it is a selling machine.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Yes. I mean, look at them. Everyone's like, Amazon, how are they making any money doing? I don't know. And then look at them. They're smart. They've done this for a reason. So don't go against the system. Let it work for you and just feed it what it needs. So that means when your book is new and it launches, there's a 5-day window, I think approximately, for new releases. And it's going to try and give your book a little boost in case it's a thing that's going to take off to make you in it all the money, right?
Yeah.
So capitalize on that. Let it come up as a slow rise, a nice peak, and it can be a fast rise, but a slow, steady decline, and have it plateau out so it doesn't drop off in sales. There's a few ways you do that. How you, when you do your advertising and your marketing to bump sales, when you are trying to build in those first 3 days or 2 weeks, your also bots. So that's those collaborations. So other people who are in your genre that you want to be like, right? Your life goal people, they're in your also bots, and then you can become in there. So if I'm going in to see what the latest Magitech book that Chris Fox wrote, but he hasn't have one, but it shows me on book 5, the book 6 is only on pre-order, but I want to read right now. And I scroll down and I see also bots. I see this one from J.R. Castle. I'm going to buy it. So the other thing is, good reviews, a decent amount of reviews in that first window, and then the 28-day cliff. So after, some people argue different things, but there's a cliff at a certain point that the book just drops off because there's so much content being added every day.
There's other authors, yeah.
So you want to kind of spur that with the next one in the book, And that's why people do the rapid release. Book 1, a week later, book 2, 2 weeks later, book 3. That you're going to just, as soon as the tail starts to drop on your sales and Amazon's like, oh, I think everyone's over this. And book 2 comes out and bounces it right back up. And then, okay, well, there's a lot of good stuff happening here. It'll stay up longer. Then you bounce book 3. And then from there, you're just feeding it slowly.
Okay.
Like a fire. You're adding coal or clean energy, whatever.
With books. With clean energy.
We're not Fahrenheit 451. We're not
wait, with books. Wait a minute. It's a bad analogy. Analogy. So wait a minute. Can we go over again? I'm sorry. There was a lot of stuff in there real fast, but the part that I want, I think a lot of people are familiar with the cliff. So we're not going to go to that part, but you were saying something about an increase, and then 1 week or 5 days or something where you're trying to get everybody to buy it. And then can you talk a little bit about that? It's like your launch, basically.
The rapid release launch.
Yes.
Silent rapid release launch. It's like an order at In-N-Out for anyone on the West Coast. You just keep adding stuff. So by releasing book 1, Amazon is going to pick it up. Maybe a week or so later, you're going to go and go ahead and have some newsletter swaps and have a bump. If you have too high of a spike too fast, I believe that Amazon flags that and says there's something shady business going on, because they're really cracking down on that. So you want to have a natural upward spike progression, and that you can support that in the beginning from your ads. BookBub ads will help populate your also bots. Amazon and Facebook ads will get you those sales, but since they're using specific targeting and keywords, it'll be just those that are in your genre. That lasts for about so long. I mean, if your book takes off and sales are continue to be great, awesome. Amazon itself has a natural window where it's okay, you're 5 days and the spotlight is up. I got to put in the next guy. So what you do by releasing the second book is you bump it back up, like bumping up a balloon or volleyball, don't want it to hit the ground. The second book brings a spike because that book also gets an Amazon spike, and now it's carrying book one with it. Also consider the people who are reading these things. They might buy it on a Thursday. I'm going to read it over the weekend. By Tuesday, I'm looking for the next book. Okay, sweet. Your book came out on Thursday, whatever your launch day is. So then I've got that second book. Allow it a little bit of time. You can do the third book on the third week. We do our third book on the fourth week. That has seemed to work well. And so then what happens after that is within the first month, the first 28 days of your book, or 30 days of your book being out, it shows these 3 books, this new series. Well, readers won't even start a new series until they see that there's a good chunk of the content already out. So now I've just hooked a whole new section of my audience within the first month of my book coming out.
And are you doing newsletter swaps for the second and third books as well?
No.
Okay.
But not all newsletter swaps happen right away, and we have to get in people's schedule. So I only ever advertise, I only ever market, I only ever newsletter swap on book one. I need to get them through the sales funnel. So we'll do a release like, hey, book 4, book 2, whatever is coming out to our own groups, but not with others. And we want to be respectful of everybody's audiences. And I mean, people with all of the privacy stuff, like, people are giving you access into their space when they give you their email. They're saying you're inviting them into conversation with you, not sales. Like, that's just, there can be some selling, but that's part of the relationship building. So I want to honor other authors' relationships with their readers. So I don't want to bombard them with all of the books. So just book one. And by the time we're able to schedule it, we say, here's when the book's coming out. When do you have an opening? It'll be about a 2 to 3 week period of when people have an opening. And so it does help to just keep feeding the beast over that time.
And then are you doing Facebook ads or Amazon ads or both? Do you do them for all the books or just the first book?
I only advertise book one, but I advertise book one all year long.
Okay. So you hook them in on book one and then have it be such a good book that they want to read book 2 and 3.
Yes. So I think that's also very important. So as I mentioned earlier in the call, that I've had the opportunity to work with some other authors. Some of them know their read-through rate. Some of them say, I don't know what you're asking me. Here's my 90-day sales Excel or CSV file. So we want to know how many people are reading book 1, go on to book 2, book 3, book 4, book 10, etc. So what that means is you look at the amount of money you're making, your royalties after the Amazon fee and the delivery fee for each book based on your price point. And then you take that and you do some math against the percentage of read-through. So from book 1 to book 2, you want to have, I think the number is about 45% of readers from book 1 going to book 2, and then something like 60 to 80% from book 2 to 3, and then 3 on, they should be hooked unless you did something bad or crazy, you a cliffhanger they didn't like, you killed off a lovable character, you got weird, you jumped the shark. They should continue, should have 90 plus readership from there. So what that means is when you do all the math, when I sell a book 1, I'm essentially making $11.16 through the series. I'm making $21, blah, blah, blah. So you're looking at how much you're making on the lifetime value of a reader from book 1. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Everything you're saying makes sense to me. But I like, this is where I spend my time thinking as well.
Okay.
I'm like, this is what I'm thinking about.
And for anyone listening, I am more than happy to at the end, we'll give you my contact information if you have questions or you want to break down, or I can send some resources so people can go and kind of read it on their own too.
Yes. So all the resources that she's mentioned, you guys, not all the authors. She's been name dropping.
Sorry.
Like, she's like, no, but I'm going to have all the resources she's mentioned. And she actually, and we did, like on every episode, as many as I can get, we have the recommended resources for marketing. And so she has these in that. So it will be in the show notes. The recommended resources for marketing will be in the show notes so that you guys can go and read Michael Cooper's stuff and be like, okay, here we go. I'm diving in here.
Yeah.
So I just want to recap a little bit. So the principles behind, and then people can go get these resources and deep dive into the details. But the principles behind both Facebook and for Facebook ads, you want to know who your audience is, stalk them, go find them, and find out what they respond to, and you can find that out by testing. And the test takes 1 to 3 days, and so it's not like you're in a bunch of money. You're just like, okay, let me try this. And it's okay if it doesn't work, try something else. Like, that's part, I know it's like, it didn't work, that's it. Especially when you're nervous about something and you haven't done it before, you're like, oh, I'm a failure.
No, I suck at life.
Nope. Lots of them. It's okay if it doesn't work. Just try something else. And then and we didn't get like deep dive into this, but I want to talk about it a little bit. So with Amazon ads, your intention, the principle behind it is to find the other authors that you want to be like, and you want to show up as much as possible on their also reads and is this correct? Am I saying this right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that'll be a direct help for that. But there are other keywords that aren't necessarily another author. So, let's say for like shifter, romance, vampire, werewolves, those are awesome, really highly competitive keywords, and they're not specifically a book or an author. Those are genre words. So there are resources that can help you find the keywords, because you get 1,000 keywords. You should be using 1,000 keywords. If you're going to take the time to create an ad, just maximize the words. You don't have to sit there and come up with it all in your own brain. There's some resources. So
Resources?
I use KDPRocket. I've also used Google Keywords. KDPRocket was specifically designed with the Amazon AMS system in mind, and whereas Google Keywords is just keywords for Google Ads or anything. So what the Dave Chesson did with KDPRocket is he looked at what are some of the other versions, the less competitive options for those words, or how much are people searching for these things, so you could understand it's a good keyword. He also includes the typos, the misspelling, commonly misspelled versions of authors or books or whatever you're searching for, so that way you can still capitalize on those searches for your ads. Well, that makes sense.
It does.
So, okay, once you get in there, you'll see it. If some people are visual, I don't know what foreign language you're speaking at me right now.
I know. So you guys, keywords are what people type in when they're searching for something, just in case you didn't know. And so, how when you're typing in into the search bar in Amazon and you start typing in like, I need a word, and it auto populates. Like, it gives you an option of like, are you looking for these things? Each one of those things is a keyword. It's not necessarily just one word.
Yes.
Which is very like screwy when you first get into it. You're like, what?
So you can one separate.
Yeah. And what she's saying is that things like werewolves, that's like a huge keyword that a lot of people are using, and so it's going to be harder to show up with your one there's a lot of shifter romance. Okay. So if you're doing shifter romance and that's your keyword, you're going to have a lot of competition. With KDPRocket, you can find other things that people might be typing in and searching for that are not like as super popular, and so they don't have as much competition. And so you will show up on those searches. You can show up on those searches if you're using those not as popular keywords in your ad. So
yes.
Oh man. Okay. You guys, obviously JR has like a million things, and she's like, we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours, and it's not that sexy. I'm so sorry.
No.
I really she did say penetration 2 times.
I didn't even realize that.
When she was talking about Facebook ads, and I really wanted to make a joke there, but it was just like not the right time. So like it's, I know, but this is really, really, really good info. It's such good info. And I'm going to try and convince her. And so keep in touch, because I'm going to try and convince her to do some kind of something where she has like a course or something. I know she's been thinking about it, but I'm going to see what I can do to help. It may or may not happen. There's no guarantees, but keep an eye out for sure, just in case.
If you love the Author Like a Boss podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Authors, until next time.
Sometimes the marketing part is a challenge, and the ads part can be a really big challenge. And I'm going to say this, JR, is that a lot of times there's a lot of really successful men out there, and sometimes the way they present things for people who are new to it is harder, especially for women.
Okay.
Especially for women, the way they communicate it isn't always, and I don't mean like, I'm not talking any specifically about Chris Fox, but just generally, because I read a lot of entrepreneurial stuff. I'm like, this is not the way I think.
Well, everyone thinks differently, and we operate differently. And there's some things that are just ingrained physiologically. There are things the way our brains work as women because of roles within our household or family. Like I said, my husband has a waffle brain. He's a little compartments, and he does one thing and time moves to the other. That's great because he's a hunter, biologically like a hunter. I'm the gatherer. So I've got all the stuff going on. That's okay. Or visual, audio. People are different learners. So if we could have additional options, thought leaders, or as you kind of said it earlier, translators for how different people learn and digest information. Not one is good or bad or better than the other. It's just different.
I agree. That's why. Why do you think I've read dozens of entrepreneurial books, dozens of marketing books? Because most everything has the same principles, but somebody's going to say it a little bit differently, and I'll get the I'll be like, oh, that's what they were trying to say in that other book, but I didn't get it because the way my mind works and their mind works. Like, so there's nothing wrong, but I really like the idea of having a woman like teach something like as complex as Facebook ads and Amazon ads to people. Like, I think there's a real market for you. Anyways, I don't need to get this. Sorry. No I don't need pressure. To get this, but I think that there's an opening and a space for that because I know personally that a lot of women can get very intimidated when they're first starting, when it's brand new, right? Because it's like, I'm already taking a chance writing and putting this out there, and now I have to market it, and it's hard. And I think that there's a space for you teaching with your intelligence and sharpness, and also, gentleness and understanding of being a woman and a mom and a
I can't say no to anything now.
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm like totally pressured you. We can cut this out if you want, but
I'm gonna cry. Yes, I'll do it.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that on the recording. Okay. So with that, what advice would you give to authors who want to be successful like you and your husband?
I guess a couple of just brief things is don't stop. if this is where your heart is, this is where your passion lies, don't stop. And that means don't stop when it gets hard. Don't stop when it's confusing. Just know that, as I mentioned earlier, no man or no woman is an island. There are people out there. I have never encountered a space where people are more willing to help each other. And it could be the time, it could be sort of independent authors banded together against the big five or whatever it is. And so now everyone's collaborative. As if it's the day and age and social connectivity is don't stop and don't hate each other. My gosh, don't hate each other. We're not competitors. Like, we're all in this together. And so reach out for help, for a question in any of the groups, and just never feel defeated, because it's not over till it's over. And so, tomorrow is a new day and a new ad, a new story, a new character, and another opportunity to keep going.
Yes. Yes. It's true. You guys, what she's saying is so true. Like, there's the space of indie authors is incredible. Like, it's so, like, the community is really, really beautiful. And I am so grateful that I love to read and like, and like, I'm like, oh, that it led me to here in my life. Like, it led me to talking to people like you. I am so, so grateful. Okay. Can you tell us about, we've been talking a lot about ads, but you guys remember that she also is a writer.
Oh yeah.
I purposely geared us towards the ads, but she's also a writer. She has some books out, and if you remember talking to earlier with her Jonathan, they sounded really fun. I highly recommend going and listening to that interview. But
it's a good combination of shenanigans.
Yes. So tell us about your latest book and where our listeners can find you.
Absolutely. So our latest book is Gateway to the Galaxy 4, Face Toward Enemy, and it's part of our series featuring Frank Wolf. And what it is sort of a Space Marine Stargate story meets the Green Lantern with his abilities. So what we're finding out is a new arc for Frank and his Marine team. And they're facing a new enemy, maybe not a new person, but a new enemy, and kind of just grappling with consequences and grappling with new responsibilities and finding that you can't just shoot them up and blow up all your enemies, that there has to be a balance, and that physical weakness isn't absolute weakness. And so we'll be interested to see what kind of new planets they go to, new galaxies, new characters and species they encounter, new situations and new relationships, and old ones, how those are going to pan out. So there's a little of all of that going on there. And that came out, as far as this recording, that came out yesterday. So very excited about that. Yeah. Brand new, hot off the press. And for anyone looking to connect with me, I'm at authorjrcastle.com. And for authors, there will be a separate link where you can click on that to get connected with me for any services or questions or anything like that, and where to find me on social. I'll include on that tab as well.
Okay. So say your website again.
authorjrcastle.com.
Okay. So you guys, that's where the books are. That's where her any potential author related helping you business stuff will be. So that's the best place to find her. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is so full, and this is the kind of stuff I love, and I hope everybody got some little tidbit of something that you feel like excited to go try Facebook ads, or at least just try one for 2 or 3 days. Like, I hope you have a little bit of something you're like, okay, yeah, this is possible. I'm going to go buy Michael Cooper's book and jump in, or, something that you feel a little bit easier in your mind about jumping into the ads thing, because you have this overview and you're like, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
Just keep
and you don't have to do it all. Like what another author always says is, our thought leaders, like in time learning. Learn the first thing, feel comfortable with it, then go on the next. You don't have to do all the things right away.
Yeah. That's what I say the same thing. I'm like, do one at a time. It's okay. Like, and don't let trying to learn it all keep you from doing the one thing.
Oh, that's great. Yes.
Because a lot of people are like, but I still don't know. Just try one. Keep trying, and don't let fear. And this is one of my weaknesses, is I love to research everything, and I use that very effectively for procrastinating stuff.
Analysis paralysis.
Yes. I'm like, I need to know all the things before I can do any single one of them. Why would what if one of the other ones is more effective?
Oh, I know that trap all too well.
And guess what? None of them are effective unless you actually put something into practice. So that's where I'm like, go take action, and go take one little baby action step, and then come back and let us know what you've done, because it's really, really exciting.
Yeah, I'd love to hear if anyone tries any of these things, starts to put together their boards, their visual cues of identifying who their audience is. Like, I would like to see what y'all come up with.
Yeah, come and tell us who you like. Hey, I did go and stalk this guy.
Don't get a restraining order.
I stalked someone.
Who you stalked today?
Yes.
Oh boy.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, JR. Oh man, so exciting. And thank you. Thank you everybody for listening. Hugs and happy authoring here at Author Like a Boss. Hey boss, you made it to the end of the episode. You're the best. Because of that, I'm going to give you a special invitation to find out more about the Author Boss Academy, where I and a bunch of really awesome authors hang out, have fun, and get stuff done. If you end up joining, tell me the secret word and you'll get a special bonus. Find out more about the Academy at authorlikeaboss.com/academy. The secret word is nipples. Hugs and happy authoring. I hope to see you soon.
If you love the Author Like a Boss podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Until next time.